Mark van Deventer is a face that is not altogether unfamiliar with those of you who've watched Teletrack in the recent past. He continues to ply his trade both in the computer form and on the INTERBET website, doing podcasts and relaying information that hopefully puts you in a favorable position to pick the right winners and put the right combinations together with a very scientific and very comprehensive understanding of the business of thoroughbred horse racing. We've caught up with him at a very similar track to Vaal Racecourse in terms of its scenery, the gum trees. Let's not try and pull the wool over your eyes and tell you that we're at the Vaal. We're not. We're at actual fact at Durbanville. And here's Mark to tell us about his sentiments and his thoughts on the outcome of this year's Emerald Cup worth R1 million.
Yeah, Andrew, it's a great field. They really have a strong lineup assembled. The stakes gone up. I'm just intrigued by the Vaal sand races. It's a totally different profile to turf racing, so it always presents a big challenge, but fantastic opportunities for exotic bettors and punters. And I think in analysing the race, you just have to look at what usually works at the Vaal. And speed on the rail, being able to sustain that, being superbly fit, those are usually the profiles that work. Every now and then a horse may come zooming through from way off the pace, but that is an exception. And I think that's why Jet Jamboree has such strong claims, because he fits the profile just spot on. He's got a really low draw, strong galloper, he's able to sustain a really forceful gallop, and that's how he's put paid to most of his rivals in the past. You know, they move up and they try and menace him, and he just spits them out. So on an early assessment, I think Jet Jamboree really looks arch sand exponent. He's excellent.
Let's move on to the defending champion. Gavin Smith did a fantastic job. He's actually been there twice, although he didn't race the first time due to the postponement of the race, but he seems very effective on the surface.
Yes, Inner Rush has done well at the Vaal. I mean, when raiding last time and stunned the public, long shot winner. Unfortunately, since then, Andrew, form has been rather iffy. Did have some success on the polytrack earlier this year, I think it was back in January, but overall Inner Rush hasn't been quite as compelling as one would have liked. Obviously getting on a little bit, but relishes the sand, and if fit and primed on the day, because that's also a major factor, is just the physical condition of the horses. So one of the things that I love doing is working out the sectional times. And the complexion is totally different to turf, you know, where horses will often run the last 800 in well under 48 seconds if they're any good.
Yes.
On the sand, the horses labour through that last part, so it really is a test of endurance and a test of fitness.
Do you think that is the reason that they've maintained the distance, the rather peculiar distance of 1450, as opposed to shifting it to a mile?
That may well be the case. And it really is a test, because the horses tend to go quite fast. They've got to zip around that turn and maintain their position. But the last part, you know, any horse that's able to get through the final 800 in anywhere close to 48 seconds is very, very hard to pass. And even in some of the more modest races, the lowly handicaps, you get horses tottering through the last 800 in 52, 53 seconds and winning.
Yeah, yeah. Well, a horse that received the award for the Highveld Sand Horse of the season was a horse that's trained by Waiho Mawing in the Hassan Adams Silks, called Uncle Tommy.
Yeah, he's cool. I mean, he's just done so well throughout a really versatile career. I remember him starting off here in Cape Town, I think with Mike Bass and then Darryl Hodson, and did admirably well on different turf, under different circumstances, on the turf, in soft and firm ground, but a completely new lease in life on the sand. And he's very consistent, ideally suited to the 1450. He regularly runs really impressive speed figs and very dependable. So I think he will definitely be on the premises at the finish.
Pylon and Uncle Tommy head past the 300 together. They well clear of the balance. It's Pylon, but Uncle Tommy is giving him a right royal fight down the inside. Uncle Tommy puts his head in front, and Uncle Tommy will go on and win the Highveld Sand Challenge. Pylon tries to fight back, but in vain. Uncle Tommy a length from Pylon.
Then what was truly a spectacular performance we saw from Scott Kenny's inmate at the Vaal, when beating the very talented Brooks Club with consummate ease.
Yeah, he just played with him. That was eye-popping. To give you an idea, he finished the last 800 in just on 48 seconds, and he absolutely sidled home. Lorena was just looking over his shoulder, and they just freewheeled in the last 200 meters. So that was super impressive, and I think Scott Kenny was hoping to sneak in near the bottom of the scale, but in fact what's happened, he's got in comfortably and he's been set to carry 56 kilograms, which is maybe a tougher assignment than anticipated, but Shadowline is primed for a peak performance, adept on the sand, and I think is one of the major players in this year's running.
But Shadowline is shaking loose on the lead now. It's gone a length and a half clear with 250 to go. Brooks Club is back in second. Henry Higgins battling away, but Shadowline is kicked further clear with 100 to go. Lorena looks over his shoulder, and surely this will get him into the Emerald Cup at the end of the month. He's a very good horse, Shadowline, and he's playing with them today. He absolutely plays with Brooks Club by 3.
He's gone from a 98 to a 104. He's got the full £6 penalty. Dominic Zaki, when I interviewed him at the Vaal on Thursday, was of the opinion that the manner in which Jet Jamboree had beaten him on 2 previous occasions was every reason to believe that he'd be able to do it again. What's the weight differential between those 2 starts and the current race?
Yeah, look, it's difficult to draw the comparisons because Jet Jamboree did win easily, and I think also Shadowline is making rapid progress. But strictly at the weights, Andrew, he got beat 3 3/4 lengths, receiving 6.5 kilograms, and now he only gets 4 from Jet Jamboree. So, just taking that literally, it may well be tough for Shadowline to compete with the champ under those conditions. But horses improve and regress. That's what makes it fascinating.
Yeah, Andrew, he's, since being gelded, he's a different horse, and he's been plagued with problems. I mean, he's had a tendon op, he's been plagued with wind problems, and thank God, since the op, things have been going smoothly, and I'm looking forward to the Emerald Cup Day.
Yeah, it's very, very exciting because he just shows such enthusiasm for racing. We've seen a smart performance from Scott Kenny's runner today, but they're going to have to beat Jet Jamboree in my book.
100%. Scott Kenny's horse was behind us in both starts he had with Jet Jamboree, but as you see, he's on the up now, Scott's horse, but you know what, my one is also on the up. So we're quietly confident.
And you're racing for £1 million.
That's it, Andrew.
Brooks Club is not one to discount entirely. He was very accomplished at 3, ran in all the big features without disgracing himself, and then seemed to battle somewhat to notch additional wins. But since being switched to the sand, has also acquitted himself very, very well. And Brooks Club, I think, will come in with a very favourable galloping weight, and Michael Azzi is a consummate horseman, so he'll have him tuned. Obviously, the less kickback, the better, because that can make it hazardous, a huge disadvantage for the off-the-pace closers. And there have been many meetings recently, Andrew, where unless you in the top 3, right at the beginning of the straight, and it's a long stretch run, unless you're handy, you're doomed. Just can't shape. And we've seen very few horses cope with the kickback and sort of come around them and win. It does depend how the track is playing on the day, but let's hope the surface is as fair as possible, so that different running styles have got a fair shake.
This time last year, a horse emerged from some pretty decent grass form to some spectacular sand form, and I refer to the son of Churchill Downs from the Jeff Woodruff stable in Kahlua Castle.
Very intriguing prospect. I think that he can certainly win a race like this if things go his way, because he's done extremely well on turf. His sand form is not too shabby, and he'll be very handily weighted. The thing is, I think he'll need a bit of a pace meltdown. So it's not inconceivable that they'll really blitz, and then the front runners start to wobble, and he may be able to close late. He's definitely got the ability, but he'll need to overcome a wideish draw and somehow be able to get past tiring front runners, overcome the kickback. So there's quite a bit that is against him. But if he's a big price, he's definitely one to lob in as an exotic tote buster.
We didn't have the right sort of prep run at the right time, if you know what I mean. So we ended up running in the August Stakes 1200, which was just patently too short for him. He ran fifth. It wasn't a bad run, but obviously well beaten. 1450 though seems to be his absolute optimum trip, and he won two 1450 fairly strong races this time last year, and a reproduction of one of those would see him home in a race like this. He actually won the handicap on the day, 1450, just prior to the Emerald Cup, and he won it in a considerably faster time with top weight. We were a bit sorry he never got in the Emerald Cup itself, but if he can reproduce that form, well, he's a big runner, although it does look very, very strong. But I think the draw is absolutely of vital importance, because I think anywhere from 1450, anywhere 8, 9 outwards, you're really battling, and those horses drawn inside that can go up there, drawn in the first 4 or 5, they've got a huge advantage. So it's going to be difficult, and I'm not making any predictions there, but it would look at early stages, it would look to me horse like Jet Jamboree, Shadow Lion on his run yesterday, they would be the ones to beat.
Are there any other horses that can be considered as very real winning contenders?
Well, Anger is one that I think you'd have to take seriously. Unfortunately, drawn quite wide, but has done extremely well. Also really progressive. Got a big speed score in Kimberley.
Which is a very, very different track. Let's not underestimate the difference.
Yes, that is true. It's a different surface, the red dirt, but that was the first time that I started to take him seriously. Yes. Yeah. And then he won a good race from Isobar on the Vaal Sand and showed that he could cope with those conditions. Obviously, he's going a little bit further, and he's facing very tough rivals. So there have to be a few question marks, but he'll definitely have supporters. And I mentioned Isobar, very game and competent sort. Was run out of it behind Anger last time, but is certainly one that you can't just discount. So those are two others that are in the mix as well. And then what confounds things quite a bit are the horses that are untried on the surface, but have got the ability to feature in a race of this nature. And I'm thinking of the likes of White Line Fever.
Into the last 400 metres, and Chikili in the yellow cap still has the nose in front. Asobar, White Line Fever, 2 off the right-hand side now, begins to descend, and here comes White Line Fever. Took over the lead into the final 250. Chikili's in second. Then comes Uncle Tommy, Asobar and Glorious Jet. White Line Fever's fought off Chikili and fought off the rest of the field. White Line Fever is supreme today. Second goes to Chikili.
And Rio Carnival, talented sort, won the King's Cup comfortably. And there's no reason why he can't come to light in a race like this. He wasn't disgraced behind Beach Beauty either. That was back in May. Then ran behind Island Fiesta on a polytrack race. And maybe that was just to get a sense of how he might cope with a different surface.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see, but certainly Rio Carnival has got the raw ability and is proven against really good horses.
It's still zestful out the lead at 300 by about 3 or 4. Tribal Dancers back second. Down the inside, Gold Onyx. King of Torch tries to run on. One Cool Dude's also trying to get into the race, but Rio Carnival comes on powerfully now. And it's Rio Carnival at the front over the last 100, and Rio Carnival has won it. Tribal Dance will be second, maybe One Cool Dude third.
So at this stage of the game, you're triple floating Uncle Tommy, Jet Jamboree and Shadow Lion with a field in the quartet, or are you going to just narrow it down to 5 or 6 runners to try and get the value?
Well, no, I think those 3 amongst the sand horses definitely stand out. And it will be interesting to see how those unproven cope. And as always, you have to, relate your bet to the odds. If you feel that you're getting a huge overlay about marginal horses, you have to promote them on your exotic tickets and try and boost the payout that way.